Hey folks, welcome back to another video. Someone on Reddit asked, I'm a huge fan of physical modeling, but also poor right now. I mean, I can relate to that. If, hypothetically, I'd like to make an off-brand physical modeling synth based on Reason Studios, Object and the Grid, any tips on where to start? So I just wrote here, yeah, it's blah, blah, blah. It's just steep bandpass filters, targeting the right frequencies and so on. So that's basically very, very short answer to that, but it's kind of true. And I've watched here the video of Reason introducing the synthesizer called OBJEKT, and they also took basically the same approach as every other physical modeling synth, where you need to create broad results of different instruments. So it's not like that you only want to have a flute or saxophone, right? When you do something like this, you probably want to really model the real world inside of your synthesizer, and it's not really possible because it's a lot of math involved. But using here basically a bunch of bandpass filters, so we have here 3 tabs of bandpass filters where you can dial in offsets to the frequencies. And we have also an exciting part, which is the exciter. And I explain to you this in a minute how this kind of works. It's not really hard to get. So what you need to know basically is that every instrument, every sound has a fundamental frequency and has overtones. Every sound. And you can replicate every sound by just replicating these overtones and the fundamental frequency. And of course the movement over time. So when you play, for instance, a guitar, right, not every overtone is at the same loudness at the same point in time. So you need to introduce envelopes to each of these overtones, so they change over time, and maybe also in frequency over time. So this is the complicated part, right? So so here we have an exciting part. This is basically when you plug the string on a guitar, or when you hit the desk with your hand, or when you hit the drum plate with the drumstick, right? The drumstick itself is modeled here, and this is the resonance of the material you are hitting, or the object you are hitting. This is the frequency response, and every material, every object reacts with different frequencies. So you can imagine if you hit your desk with your hand, you get a different sound, different harmonics back than hitting a metal plate with your hand, right? It sounds completely different because the resonance of what you get back is different. It's also the same with light. The color on your wall is basically not on the wall itself. It's the frequencies you are reflecting. So when you put light on a wall, you get all the frequencies or color frequencies back from the wall, because the wall is exactly that material, and that reflects only different frequencies. I don't want to get into that, but it's basically the same thing. It's all frequencies, it's just another different spectrum. So objects have different resonating frequencies. You get back different harmonics from an exciting moment. Okay, so this object synthesizer works exactly like, for instance, a chromophone. Chromophone 3 here. Let's open this one. So just remember this. We have an exciter and we have a resonator simulating the object. Here we have the same thing in the editor. We have on the synth part here, we have some different modes here. It's just modulation. The synth part is the main part. We have here a noise part, which is the exciter or mallet. You can mix this together so you have a different exciter sound, or make the exciter sound modeled to a specific sound. And then we put this noise, this exciter noise, through resonator banks. We have here 2 resonator banks on the synth tab 1. And we can change here the resonating part. We can also switch this to manual if you want to. Maybe switch the second part off. And then right? You can model basically with these resonators some kind of object behavior. Maybe I put this down. And then we have these other models here, string for instance, or beam. But really these models are nothing else than just this manual tab here. Basically, I think it's just a bunch of bandpass filters. But they are pre-tuned, so you don't have to manually dial in. But the manual part is basically that gives away how this works. So we have multiple partials, and these partials are basically the frequencies of these bandpass filters. So we have 4 bandpass filters here. Maybe. Okay, so we have exciter, and then we have here resonators. It's the same concept as here, exciter, bandpass filters. So here we have 3, and chromophone we have 1, 2, and also 4 here. So we have 2 synths with each 2 resonators that you can bring in. And then you can combine them, mix them together, and it gives you a much richer result. But the concept is the same, basically. Then we have object delay. Object delay is from the same company, AAS. And in here, it's more aimed at having some kind of delay. So you have to put something through that. It's an effect. So we have here polymer. But when you basically turn off LFO, the pre-filter and the delay part, I think this gives us here the full wet signal. So now we can define basically with the synthesizer itself kind of an exciter noise. In this case, you would just take noise. So this is basically your hand slapping the desk. Right? And when we put this here through the resonator bank, get the drum head sound. But the problem here is we can't change the frequency dependent on the key we are pressing on the keyboard. So it's a fixed frequency basically, but it's the same concept also here. We can change it to a plate. So it's a metal plate. So what you do basically with material, it sounds like you change the resonance of upper frequencies of the upper bandpass filters. Also here decay just increases probably the resonance. And this changes the frequencies of all bandpass filters. And this is the form, and this is interesting here. Formants are usually fixed frequencies. And explain you this here also, of course, quickly in this one here. So what you do, or what you want to model with physical modeling is, first one, the drumstick itself, so how it sounds when you hit something, and only that, without the resonances of the object. So you hit then something, in our case here maybe a metal plate, and the metal plate resonates then, and the resonances of this metal plate are basically exactly the right resonances of this material, and maybe also the physical size, the physical size of this object. So it gives you back different resonances. And this is basically the bandpass part, where you dial in the specific frequencies for specific objects. And then when you play, for instance, if this is your hand and this is maybe a string on a guitar, then you also have to put this through an object, another object, because the guitar, for instance, has a guitar body, right? You have this nice formed Yeah, that's the guitar, yeah. You get the idea, right? So this body itself, also the size of this and what kind of material you use, what kind of wood you use, decides on how the sound is shaped, or how it sounds, basically, how the sound sounds. Yeah. You know what I mean. And these frequencies from this body usually don't change. They are fixed frequencies. So it's called formants, right? So we have formants here, and then we have resonances here, and then we have here maybe noise, which is the exciting part. So, and this one is nicely, most of the time, nicely modeled with convolution reverbs, where you have like a short impulse response from an object. And it's basically also just filtering the sound in a way. You have filter out different overtones, but these frequencies never change when you change the pitch. So when you play different melody on the guitar, or when you play different melody on the piano itself, the resonances of the piano body never change. They're always the same. They are fixed frequencies. So you can dial in just also with the EQ, these fixed frequencies, to simulate some kind of body. And I want to give you this here in the grid, an idea about this, so that we have multiple approaches to that. So we can just start very simple. So we introduce a noise, or the exciting part here, with an AD, pink noise, and then go to output here. So now we arm that. So we get a click sound. So this is basically our exciter part. And you can put a lot of work into that. You can shape it, you can put some filters on there just to shape the exciting part exactly how you want it. And we also use here a display. We label this so you have an easy way to understand this. So this is the exciter. And then we send this through a body. And the body is usually simulated here with a filter, with the bandpass filter. So we go into that. And then we can use here the resonator, or the resonance. Right? So it already sounds like an object a little bit. So that's this part. And we also want to introduce here probably a macro to change the resonance here. Put it slightly over the edge. Okay, fine. And in the end here, we probably want to have some kind of distortion, because when you record a physical object with your microphone, you have some kind of distortion. When you hit the desk, right, pretty hard, and then you have a microphone right besides it, you probably have some distortion on there, because the microphone doesn't get the whole dynamic range. So we simulate this here, and it's also nice for you to hear it better. Okay. So then we need, of course, multiple of these, and we have to summarize this. So let's go with, I think, let's see, they had here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8 ones. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So we have this kind of battery of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So we sum these all together here with this with the sum. Hopefully I can get 8 in there. Yeah. And then put this into the output. So now all these bandpass filters basically have the same resonance. We can change here. And all these bandpass filters have the same frequency. So what you can do now is you can dial in specific frequencies for an object. So let's see how this sounds. Yeah, maybe I'll leave this open. Maybe I'll scale this a bit down. Something like this, so I can increase here this. Nice. So now we can dial in specific frequencies. I just dial in here some random stuff. I have no idea how this sounds. Right? If you put too much resonance on that, it's exciting too much. You can also put this here, maybe, nah, I leave it at that, but we can put this here into maybe logarithmic. So we have all exponentials, maybe better. Yeah, it's a bit better to have exponential here. So we have more fine-grained control at the end of the macro. Logarithmic would be probably better. Okay, so now it already sounds like it's some kind of random object. And to replicate specific objects, you have to analyze these objects and have to see what kind of frequencies they're resonating with. Right? So also the problem here now is that we can't change the pitch because we just, you know, disabled here the pre-chords, so we can change the frequencies depending on the input pitch. So if you're not happy with the exciter sound here, you can also switch the noise, for instance, to stereo, which sounds much better. And then you can try to shape it here maybe with an SVF filter. You can see it gives you a lot of different variety on and how to replicate certain sounds. It almost sounds like a tom. So now you come to the second problem. Because not only the frequencies are important for certain objects, also the loudness of these overtones. So you have to decide if you want to amplify certain sounds or certain overtones, and if so, also how does it change over time? This is also important. So you basically have to introduce not only loudness knobs here, right? So when I dial down basically at the fundamental frequency, which is the main frequency, it becomes automatically a bit more dissonant. Right? So this is something you can do. And then you can also, if you want to, introduce here segments, but not only for everything together, for all these different partials, if you want to. So how they behave over time. If you want to do that, you don't need to do that, but you can do it. That's the thing. Maybe so they all kind of give you different results. So this is also something you can do. Then interesting would be also to have something like where you spread the frequencies apart with the knob, right? So we have this here, and then we maybe change either the frequencies itself, something like this. I just do random stuff here. You can usually I leave here the root untouched, but you can analyze certain parts and can really replicate something with this. But sometimes it's just fun to play around with this. Right, so you can spread frequencies in different directions apart. Maybe bring the fundamental back in. So you get this kind of stuff, right? So spreading the frequencies. So loudness is important, frequencies is important, the exciter is important. You have so much freedom with this in the grid here that it's almost impossible to explain everything. So you can see you can also use different envelopes for different harmonics. So it's, yeah, endless possibilities. You can also use more than just 8. You can use infinite amount of number of bandpass filters in here. And I also did this already, of course. So here with the, I think we have only one, it's 8, so we have 8 here, 8 there. So this is also something you can do. You can use multiple of these in row. So if you are done with this, you can do another bunch, or just use here the polygrid and duplicate it and use it more as an input instead of an instrument here. Use it more as an effect, and then put stuff through that. Another idea is, instead of using specific frequencies, you can also just say, I want to introduce all the harmonics, and then remove the harmonics I don't want to use. So I want to give you here also a quick overview. I'll just double click here this to get this back at C3. So now we have all the same frequencies everywhere. So let's say you want to target specific harmonics, right? So you want to say, I want to have, this is the fundamental and this is the second harmonic here. You can use the ratio for that. So put in here ratio, pull this down, right? So 0, so it isn't influenced by the keyboard. And then use a pitch in. Oh, and maybe let's start here with the bottom one. Turn this up, pull this down. So this is the first harmonic here. This is the second harmonic, and you probably guessed it, we have to dial in 2-1. This is the third harmonic. Because this is here at C3, we modulate exactly to the right amount of frequency with this. So let's duplicate this here quickly. So this gives you also some freedom if you want to target specific frequencies or harmonics, a number of harmonics. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so we have this start in here. Quick check. I need to back here. We need to remove all this. So now we have all the harmonics. And no surprise, this sounds exactly like a comp filter, because the comp filter gives you exactly that. So when we go into the comp filter here, pitch on 262 Hertz all the way up with the resonance, and then disconnect here our first idea and just connect this here to output. It sounds almost You have more overtones with this here. But this also gives you all the overtones. And with this approach, you basically can easily model harmonic physical objects like guitar sounds or piano sounds, where you probably want to have all the harmonics in there, but some harmonics are a bit off in loudness. So you can target this with the SVF, for instance, and then remove with a notch certain frequencies. So right, if I use here an EQ, right, you can then put in a notch here at certain frequencies and remove the harmonics. So this is basically the opposite approach. Instead of introducing the harmonics you want, you introduce all the harmonics and remove these harmonics you don't want. So it's the opposite approach, basically. There's also a nice filter in here where you can pull off all the up harmonics. So this is more like I said, for harmonic instruments. And this approach here is more for disharmonic instruments, because you can target specific frequencies. So here, this one makes no sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because we introduce here all the harmonics, we can just fall back to comp filter. So this only makes sense if you really target specific frequencies. So for instance, you want to go here maybe to 30 and here to something like this. We probably need to introduce here also a different envelope. Maybe white noise. You can also use, instead of SVF, you can use all the other filters, for instance XP, where you have more options here for bandpass. Here a steeper bandpass filter. It's a bit of work to exchange all of this, but you know. But it gives you all different sounds. Depends if you need steeper filters or more broader filters. XP4, yeah. XP bandpass 4. Maybe a bit more excitement here. So this is basically a rough introduction to physical modeling. This is more kind of modal synthesis here. We have bandpass filters and create sounds with that. You can also remove this whole part here and do something like the object delay, where instead of using here a noise burst, you just use sounds coming in, or audio in, right? You use audio in and go here with a different sound from a synthesizer in, or maybe you want to hit the desk, right? You have a microphone and then hit the desk with that, and you can, pass that through these bandpass filters, which gives you all interesting results because they react to every sound you hit the desk, probably much, much different than having this noise sample. Actually, I could try this. It's actually not a bad idea. So we have the microphone here. And then I put this here on the second track. And then I have here this part. And this needs to be removed, of course. Something like this. You probably want to have also here some kind of gate. Yeah, something like this. Needs a pitch. Pitch in. So we have. Yeah, it gives you also some kind of sounds that react a bit better or a bit more dynamic, more alive, because the input signal is not always the same as here with the exciter, with the noise burst. So yeah, that's also something you can do. And like I explained here, with the comp filter is also an easy part if you want to replicate certain things that are harmonic. So let's use that here again, or maybe go back here to the first instrument, to an instrument track, and in here I limit the Q limit. So this sounds like guitar, but not really, because now the resonances, the fixed resonances, are missing from the guitar body, which is the most important part of an guitar, I think. And here we can try to fake it with an EQ. I have to bring certain frequencies out. Maybe also make this here polyphonic. Right, so you get this type of sound. But really cool is this getting by using a convolution reverb here, and then using some real bodies. Not sure if I have something here. TV scoop. But I have some kind of ER responses on my desk. I can show you how this sounds. Let me see. Yeah, I have something here downloaded. Classical guitar body. So this is basically an ER response through a guitar body. This is without, this is with. And this only introduces basically some kind of fixed frequencies from the guitar body itself. So it makes a huge difference having these formants on there. if you want to replicate certain instruments. Also probably the noise part. Maybe bring in a bit of here. And then use VeloMold, which is influenced by the velocity of the keyboard, right? So how much you change basically at the frequency offset. Maybe also here. And also here. So you get the idea. You try to make it then as dynamic as possible. Maybe let's try a different one here. Okay, so you can, it can take hours to tune this so it sounds like a real guitar, and at the end you don't even know if it sounds like a guitar at all. So it's really, that's the hard part, basically, dial in all the fine nuances to get the sound right. Well, it sounds, it's pretty, I think it sounds pretty okay. All it needs is probably here a transient control, no transient split, so we get the transients out and only put the reverb on the tonal part here, supermassive. That sounds nice, huh? I think there's still too much low end in there from the, let me see, from the comp filter here. Yeah, down here. Okay. Yeah, that's the rough idea about physical modeling in Bitwig Studio, I think. Replicating stuff like Object from Reason, replicating something like Chromaphone. Yeah, I think that's it. It's already a pretty long video, right? Let me see. 40 minutes. Okay, so if you like the video, leave a like. If you have some questions, leave it in the comments. You can also write there if I talked a lot of shit in this video. I have no problems with that. And I see you in the next video. Thanks for watching and bye.